dear friends, confidants, and accidental listeners who have stumbled into my broadcast seeking something utterly different. Today I present a tale resulting from from my own volition, rather than cosmic mishap, navigational incompetence, or the malicious whims of jump ship scheduling. After my recent rounds of diplomatic dances, safari expeditions, and a most regrettable pirate entanglement, I found myself yearning, aching even, for a place of quiet dignity, one untouched by ceaseless roars of successor state politics. And so, with a firm hand and a sip of brandy, I charted a personal course towards the Union of Samoyedic Colonies. Yes, a most understated name for most extraordinary people. My vessel brought me to Yalumph, which the locals politely call Dawn, and indeed it felt like one. Soft light stretching across the plains where the winds carried the smell of cold stone and distant herds. It was a world guided by the Federal Council of Num, whose authority stretches not by force of arms, but by the weight of tradition and expectation that wisdom is best brewed slowly, like their hearth-fire teas. Side note, it was delicious. Their de facto capital, the settlement of Pius, greeted me not with grand domes or parading regiments, but with communal halls, longhouses, and the gentle bustle of society that moves with the rhythm of nature rather than the ticking of strategic clocks. I wondered amongst their preparations for one of their famed internal migrations, vast, deliberate relocations across Yellum's lands in pursuit of fertile grazing grounds for the the reindeer-like creatures from which is the beating heart of the Samoyedic life. The villagers took down tents with practiced calm. Young scouts checked ice paths, and the herds with weathered faces, which murmuring quiet assessments of grass quality. It was a ballet of purpose, utterly devoid of pomp and brimming with dignity. How unlike the fervid bustles of noble courts, where a change in position is fueled by ambition instead of survival. A communal feast welcomed me that evening, and though the fare was simple, stew meats, hearty roots, and fragrant broths, it carried the unmistakable taste of shared history. Around the longhouse fire they told me tales of ancestors who migrated not only across Yellumth, but across Terra's northern steppes in ages forgotten, before the long trek to the stars. Their voices carried the weight of timelessness, and I found myself lulled into a state of contemplated serenity rarely achieved outside the long bath or a quiet library wing. When my time came to continue my tour, I journeyed towards Sangovats, the companion world to Yellumth. If Yalumph is dawn, then Sangovats is most assuredly difficulty, a name inherited from the ancient Ninet's tongue. The moment I stepped into the frigid surface, I realized the locals were not being metaphorical. No. No. The winds were not merely weather, but a permanent resident, sharp, needling, and utterly unmoved by one's aristocratic titles, or careful maintained hair, by that matter. And yet, impossibly, the Samoyedic colonies thrive there, too. Their settlements cling to the land with stubborn resolve, especially upon the continent of Parabos, where the cold can peel the courage from lesser souls. Buildings squat and low against the wind, reinforced and insulated like hibernating beasts. I was introduced to the delegation of the Council of Noom, stationed there. Individuals with quiet smiles and eyes that could clearly stare down winter, which would turn most nobles into statues of regret. They spoke of hardships not with bitterness, but with reverence, for to endure is not merely survival, but is their identity. Walking among them, I found myself reflecting on the contrast with worlds I have known. Places obsessed with wealth or victory or political machinations, but here the struggle is elemental, and from that struggle emerges a warmth of spirit far brighter than any palace chandelier. Laughter echoed through frost-rimmed doorways. Children chased each other in boots far too large for them. Fires crackled inside homes, built not for show but for safety. And everywhere, the loyal teeth grazed and wandered, companions across generations. As my visit drew to a close, I found myself in a quiet council hall, raising a modest glass in honor of my hosts. I toasted the union of the Samoyedic colonies, their migrations, their resilience, and their abating connections to their lands and their herds. The elders nodded with soft approval, and for a moment the cold outside seemed utterly defeated. Yes, when I finally departed the system, watching the twin worlds fade into the void, I carried with me not merely memories, but a certain peaceful clarity, something astonishingly rare in my line of work. In a galaxy roaring with conflicts and ambition, the Samoyedic colonies live by simple truth. Civilization does not require conquest to be noble, nor grandeur to be great. Sometimes greatness is a small fire burning in the vast snow.